him in, okay?
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Let's go.
Okay, hello, welcome to our first ever Northgate Student Forum. First, I want to thank Northgate admin and Mrs. Kernich for coming up with this amazing idea that allows students' voices to be heard on campus. I want to express appreciation for the students on our panel today. Thank you so much for sitting down with us here today to add in your valuable input on distance learning. And also thank you to all of the students who applied. Please do not be discouraged. We will have future ones that we would love for you to participate in. Last but not least, thank you to those who are currently viewing this. You are free to comment during this forum, add in your own input, and ask our panel questions. Just of course, keep it respectful. Without further ado, let's introduce our panel. So first, I want to introduce Stephanie Dumoulin.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm also a part of Key Club at Northgate.
Next, we have Ryan.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a 9th grader, and I'm a part of leadership.
Next, we have Anusha.
Hi, I'm Anusha. I'm a freshman, and I'm also part of leadership.
And Adam. Okay, next we have Decker.
Hello, I'm Decker. I am a junior and a proud link leader.
And then Laviance.
Hi, I'm Lavance. I'm a junior and I'm part of the wrestling team.
Next we have Chloe.
I'm Chloe. I'm a senior. I'm in wind ensemble and animation.
And last but not least, JR.
Hello, I'm JR. I'm a senior at Northgate High School, and I'm part of Northgate's jazz band and wind ensemble.
Hey, yay, and those are our panelists for today. So first, we're going to go into our questions. Oh, and we also have Hunter Pinkstaff joining us. So Hunter, feel free to introduce yourself.
I'm Hunter. I'm a junior. I just came to the panel to learn more about distance learning and all that.
Sounds awesome. Okay, so for our first question, we're going to start off on a light note. What are some positives you have found through distance learning?
The first thing that I experienced with distance learning is that I was able to have more sleep.
Yeah, I agree with JR. It's a bit more convenient for me. Like, I don't have to wake up early, get stuck in traffic, or like worry about getting to class in time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Sorry, but just
You go ahead,
add on top of the guys, I feel like I'm able to communicate with my teachers a lot better too. Like with their office hours, those are like just really helpful.
Yeah, I hear that. I think for me personally, I live in Pittsburgh, so being in school, being at Northgate for my first year there, it was kind of a struggle waking up early enough to beat morning traffic, but now with that kind of totally out of the picture, I think all of us appreciate school starting at 9 a.m. and I think that's been a really fun part of distance learning.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Stephanie. So, especially in comparison, if you have an 8 period, it's just way more convenient, and you actually feel ready for class in the morning.
I agree on the start time there. It's definitely way more convenient for me. I also think that just because we are, for me personally, because school is naturally in this position of us having to adjust to distance learning, there are a few anxieties that are relieved with that, that I find myself normally having at this time of the year, September in a normal school year. But because that for our classes, we only meet them twice a week, and it's spread out. I found that a few of those stresses are released and a bit more evenly paced.
I like how we kind of have Wednesday off to do a more individual learning, like the teachers assign some homework and we do it ourselves. And if we need help, we could just go on to their Zooms. That's been really helpful for me because if I have any problems, I could just talk to my teachers independently.
Okay, those are all positive of distance learning. So thank you so much for mentioning those. And what are some things that you miss from in-person learning?
I think for me, what I missed was like just being able to like interact with like my classmates or like even some of my teachers would tell me like it could be a little awkward, like they don't want to like put pressure on you to like talk to them, but then at the same time, it's like I think it's important to have like a interaction between like a student and a teacher. So like I felt like that was kind of something I missed about in-person learning.
Same here, like for people in band especially, because we can't really meet up and play in band together. So I'm just missing out on that experience as well. Like any not extracurricular, but any people in like the performing arts department will suffer from this.
I mean, I just miss seeing people. I miss like being with people physically. It's a bit weird just to like see people in a tiny little box on the screen. And there are things you can't do through technology.
What's also missing that we don't have like lunch physically together is that there's no like relief from the school day. Like I feel like I have my classes, I get off, and unless you like go and like make a group call or something, it's just like cooking or making lunch before I just get back on the computer.
Yeah, just to add on what everyone was saying, like I really miss the interaction with everyone, like human contact other than your family. And like also like the how Chloe was saying with like the breaks, like it's you have like it's a really long break and nice break, but at the same time, like those two classes back to back in the beginning of the day are like kind of like hectic.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Oh, Hunter, do you want to go?
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say I miss being around like the whole crowd at school, all my friends at lunch and in classes. A lot of classes, I don't know, it's just different. Like popcorn reading in English, I don't know. It's just a lot harder to do online, I believe.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when we're talking about differences, there's also the workload to account for when it comes to distance learning. Have you felt any shifts at all during this semester?
For me, I felt like it's gone actually a lot lighter, to be honest.
I have to agree with that. It's usually, kind of like I was saying earlier, usually at this time of the year, in a regular school year where we're not distance learning, there's usually a more dense workload that's coming in a normal mid-September. But because of the obvious situation here, the restraint on that has actually come with a silver lining in that while the work is not necessarily um, lessened, it is paced and spread out over the week. You have more time between each class, usually about 3 days, with the exception of last week, and it's uh, it's just a little less stressful and a little more adjustable, where you can kind of create your own routine off of it. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with Decker. Like well, this is my first year at Northgate, but like I think like one thing I really liked is we don't have the same class every day, so you kind of have more than one day to probably turn in an assignment unless like teachers want it that day. Like for my geometry, you have to turn it in like that day. But I feel like they don't give a lot of homework where it's like you have a lot of pressure on you. It's more like there's I feel like my teachers are giving just the right amount of homework for me to like review what I'm doing, but not to like overdo it on me where I have to like keep doing my homework like a lot of time after school as well.
Yeah, I feel like we have less homework this semester, but the homework is more complicated. And I'm not sure if that's just junior year or if the teachers are making the homework a little bit harder to account for the loss of in-person learning.
Okay, does anyone else want to add on to that?
Sure. I would say I agree that I totally appreciate how the workload has been getting a little more lenient and more easy to form to your own schedule, and that's been really great. But I guess in terms of how it's feeling right now, I think it's just kind of harder to keep track of work online and all of it being um, honestly for me kind of seeming not so tangible as like physical work, handing in those paper worksheets. But I think that's something that I can overcome, so it's not much of a big problem.
Just to add on, I really agree with Stephanie because I'm that person that like likes manual things like worksheets and I turn it in personally to the teacher. But like with not having that, everything's online. So sometimes that can be an issue. And but like other than that, I feel like it's been pretty good. Like the workload is lighter, just a lot more notes, I feel. But like it really has just been easier, just more notes and like material to study. But it's been pretty good for me. So
So then when we're talking about online work and online classes, we often talk about our devices and internet access. What's your experience with that? Have you been struggling with your particular device or Wi-Fi? Do you feel like you have the necessary tools to be successful with distance learning?
Personally, I've been having a lot of issues with that. Like, just recently got a new laptop from the school because like mine was going out with connections and Zooms, and like my little brother's computer wouldn't turn on completely. So like, just like a lot of those things, I've had issues with turning things in because like my internet access may not be good. So like, I'll like type a paper or something, and then like before I know it and like I go to turn it in, it's gone because like it didn't automatically save with no like Wi-Fi to save it. So that's like been like I've like almost cried a couple of times because like I would write this like whole papers and stuff and then like it would like disappear because it would never save. So but other than that, I hopes, good vibes.
I think it just depends on the person, you know, depends on their computer, device, Wi-Fi connection. Like I haven't really had any problems, but I also know people who have actually even like gotten kicked out of their Zoom call because it was so bad, you know.
Yeah, similarly, like so far I haven't had too bad of a problem, but I think kind of like Ryan was saying, bandwidth is and the amount of internet being used in at least each residency is kind of a factor to work in because the more bandwidth that's being used, the more the internet will either be hampered or slowed down. And I feel like where that can get complicated is the more people that are in one house that are all trying to either Zoom school or do their job. That can sometimes cause slower internet. And while I haven't had the same problems as Levance, and kudos to you for persevering. I do definitely think that the amount of internet being used definitely does play a big impact on it.
Like I personally have had some problems with the connection, dipping in and out, and it can especially be worse when you're trying to run like a class call but you're also having to run other programs for it. Like, for example, with my animation class, it can get really difficult trying to run like an editing program as well as a call, or a call as well as like a shared document where multiple people are editing. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've occasionally had some problems, but like when I had like a test, it was a Google form, like I typed all my answers in and like when I was uploading like a picture of my work, everything went away right then. So like I had to redo it. But I mean like I think those things might happen at one point, but like we just kind of have to like adjust to it because like it's just what's best for us right now.
I agree. Because like it depends really on the person, like what Ryan said, because I don't have as much issues, but like I know a lot of people who like whose computers have crashed or like their Zoom programs have crashed and they like lose out on all the information. So I guess it depends on the person.
Okay, and then we have a question from the live. As students, do you prefer Zoom or Google Meets and why?
Zoom all the way. Google Meets, it's always like blurry and crashing, and it's so bad. But Zoom, I haven't had a single problem on it.
Yeah, same. I feel like Google Meet, I had it once for biology and it just like I don't know, it was just weird, just like everything in general and like it was a little confusing like but Zoom, I don't know, I just felt like it was really simple and like you knew where like everything was and it was just like easy to use in general.
Yeah, I totally have to agree with that. I would really prefer Zoom because I think I even had a teacher who was at first using Google Meets, and now she's transferred over to using Zoom because she um, said that she appreciated how Zoom logs attendance, I think, and that was even helpful for her. So that makes me glad that it looks like it's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, just to add on top of that, I feel like Zoom, like yeah, you'll have your like glitches or whatever, but it's a lot clearer and stuff, and a lot more simple and easier to work. I feel like the only good thing about Google Meets that I liked was on your screen you can have like your class and do your work. Like with Zoom, it's like either one or the other. But other than that, I would definitely choose Zoom.
I would also agree. But I also think part of it comes with the amount of experience you have with one program or the other. Um, for me personally, with the classes that I had for last spring's portion of distance learning, when the lesson plans were literally compiled on one go, the Zoom was the program that was turned to for the for basically all the classes I had. And currently, 5 of my 6 classes do use Zoom. Only one uses Google Meet. And I think that just because I use Zoom more than I would Google Meet, I would probably lean towards Zoom. But uh, that said, both can have internet issues. So I wouldn't say Zoom is perfect, but I mean, we're on Zoom now, and I just think there's something to be said for the uh, more practice and easier use that has come with it for me so far.
My one class that does use Google Meets, it's because it's easier for students to share their screens or just like a tab. But apart from that, I think if that can be figured out on Zoom, it really is more ideal, especially the layout. It's easier to navigate.
Okay, awesome answers. To Builds by B, Laura, we'll actually address your question later within the meeting, probably at the end. Thank you for contributing to that. And then also, how have distractions at home affected your experience? Has privacy been an issue, the temptation to multitask, etc.?
It
Me,
hasn't really been a. You want to
go
go?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. It hasn't really been that much of a problem for me. I mean, in the beginning, I did like play with my phone a little bit, but like I'm getting used to the way school is now. And I mean, yeah, my dad knows I'm in school. He doesn't bother me. It's all fine.
Yeah, just that on top of that, I feel like it might be more difficult for people with little siblings or even older siblings, because for me, I have like three younger siblings that are always like speaking out loud and stuff. And like currently in English, we're doing like a reading assignment, and I got assigned a character. So like when I'm reading and stuff, my little siblings will be right across to me, like talking about ABCs or math, and I was like, it'll be really like chaotic in a way. But other than that, no, because my mom also like has restricted us from the fridge during class, so I have that at home to keep me on track.
I think for me, it was not that bad compared to like others. Like three siblings, that's just like that's like I think that's really hard to like really like just like stay on task and all. I don't really have any distractions, but at the same time, I think it's just like maybe how many people are in like your house and how many people are working. And like if you have older siblings, like that might be much easier compared to like younger ones and all that too.
Yeah, I think I am super grateful for not having as many or not having any younger siblings. And I do have an older sister, but our age gap is pretty big, and she's working from home right now. So for me, it hasn't been much of a problem at all because I actually enjoy like being able to ask her for help with my chem homework and things like that. And so I think that relates back to the question you mentioned earlier about what are some positives in having school in quarantine. And I think I should mention that one of them is that I like being able to spend more time with my family. And I think my family being at home as well as me hasn't been a distraction. It's been a supplement to my academic performance.
I agree. I in the exact same thing. That's been a nice part for distance learning for me as well. Um, I feel like I feel like another thing that I've considered is distractions for me at least are inevitable, and I feel like commonly they are inevitable, to quote Thanos from the Avengers. But the uh the, I think it also depends on like obviously all home situations are different, and there's going to be a vast array of of how home situations go for all students. It's going to be different for everybody. Um, but I feel like one of the things that has, for me personally, worked well, and that I'm grateful for, is with the 6 people that live in my house, we have found respective corners or just rooms to work out of where we're not really intervening in each other's work day, whether that's for job or school or something. And we don't all have our own rooms, but we have found a way to make it work. And I feel like that has probably been what has minimized distractions for me. Just having um, at least a small little area to just focus on what I'm doing and have a little bit of distance away from the others. But that can vary per person, and it's something that is that I in no way take for granted, because I know that for some corners of the house may not be available for them. So yeah.
I have the complete opposite situation as Decker. I don't have any siblings, and I only have like 2 to 3 people who live with me in the house. So I'm really grateful for that. And for like Levante or like Decker, who like have like a lot of people in the house, I commend you for being able to work through that. So I just want to say that I don't have as many distractions, but mainly that if I get off task or if I'm like not really paying attention or if I don't really want to be in the lecture, distractions are there. They're really tempting, like my phone or like anything else. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Okay, a question from the live. It is, how successful have breakout rooms been for you as students? What might make them better in your experience with them?
Personally, I honestly really like breakout rooms when we're doing like group works or something, because like usually in class, like you'll see people and like you'll get to choose and stuff, but it's like good to like get to know your other classmates and stuff and like just have that experience. I feel like something that would have been like really helpful, like if Zoom people are watching this that run Zoom, this would be a good detail to add to the app, but like if the teacher could like specifically put certain people in the group.
I think your audio stopped working.
Okay, Levance, I'm so sorry. Half of your speech got cut off. So if you want to repeat that last part or not, completely your decision.
Yeah, I can say that I think adding on to what I heard Levante say, I enjoy when teachers are using breakout rooms in ways that I think I had my PE teacher let us kind of choose what breakout rooms we could go into, and that was really nice because there was already people you would know in the breakout room, and he would also spread out some people that you might not know, and you could get to know each other better. And I think that was really nice because some of the bad experiences that I've had with breakout rooms have been just really how awkward it can be. And I think obviously it was worse at the beginning of the year where everyone wasn't really comfortable with Zoom at first. And teachers would kind of put you in a breakout room and say, oh, here's an icebreaker, go carry that out. It's really easy just to stay muted. And it's kind of really unmotivating sometimes because not being in person and sort of not realizing, um, I guess not feeling as important to talk up or speak up during class. It was hard to get through those breakout rooms, but I think it's getting better. So I think in time, the problems with breakout rooms will clear up, as I hope.
Yeah, I agree. I've had mixed feelings about breakout rooms. Like sometimes they're really awkward because like you can like you were saying, Stephanie was saying like you can easily just get away with staying muted and like not talking. But then sometimes like I honestly don't know what to talk about. Like I don't know if I should just sort of like start talking because I feel like it might come out as like weird or like people just don't really want to talk. And then some classes are like good though because like choir for example, we were talking about embarrassing moments that we had and like that was fun because like I can relate to people something that is just educational. It's like it's almost like a break from it's just like one a break where you can connect with others through Zoom. And I just thought it was like a good way because the teacher isn't there, so you can just interact with students in general without like thinking too much about like the teacher.
I mean, I think breakout rooms are cool. Like it's like the Zoom equivalent of working in groups. And like I agree that it can be awkward when you just get stuck with somebody that you don't know or something like that. But I mean, so can working in groups. You know, it seems to be getting better. I think people seem to be like more ready to work, or if not work, just they're more. I seem to notice people are more comfortable now that some time has gone by. One thing I also noticed though is that sometimes teachers leave us in breakout rooms for too long. And that's where it starts getting awkward because we already finished what we're working on, and then we're just there staring at each other. It's a little bit weird.
If I yeah, on that situation, I agree that has happened several times to me as well. Um, and that can be making things awkward. If I were to be completely honest, though, I personally, personally for me, I prefer when we're all in the same room. I find breakout rooms a bit overwhelming, a little overstimulating. Part of it might stem from me not really being a group project person. Like I know that group projects are inevitable in life, and it's good to know how to do them. But because of my work pace and the way I usually work, I usually find it a little less overwhelming to do an independent project. And I mean, like, because I could just I can find breakout rooms to be especially because the teacher has to bounce to all the different rooms. I have one class where there are 3 different levels of that class being taught in the same period, and so my teacher has to alternate between all the rooms and and give directions to each, which is that's a lot of work, and and they're really good at doing that. But I sometimes when we're left in our own groups, or we're split into breakout rooms, and like we're supposed to like do this assignment really quickly. Ultimatums and deadlines don't usually usually when I have more time and there's enough of the runway in front of me to brace for it, I tend to do better. So just for me personally, I think I prefer the regular rooms as opposed to the breakout rooms. So that's where I stand on it.
I agree, because like in the very beginning of the year, you'll go into a breakout room. If you don't know anyone, you just be dead quiet for like 2 minutes straight, and no one would talk to one another. And it's just like when someone says something, it's really awkward. But now I feel like a lot more people are opening up to this new experience, and people are getting more comfortable to it. And I feel like, yeah.
One thing that I've had is that sometimes if you are on a roll with your breakout room and you are connecting with your students, if a teacher comes into the room to check but they stay for too long, it can like interrupt that because everyone has to shift their attitude and like the way they speak, and it can like kind of throw off the flow that you've had going.
I think the most ideal size for breakout rooms is 4 to 5 people, because it's not so few people that it gets awkward and not so many that it gets overwhelming. It's like just the right amount of people so you could actually have a conversation about the subject and then maybe goof around a little bit after. But yeah, 4 to 5 people is like the ideal size for a breakout room, in my opinion.
Awesome points. Okay, and we have another question from the live, which is, what are some things teachers have done that have made class more engaging?
One of my teachers uses Pear Deck, and for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's I don't really know how to explain this cohesively. It's like he will have a slide and then turn on Pear Deck, and then everybody can participate and answer a question, and then he can just click a button and show all the answers, go through the answers, and that way it's kind of like it's just more engaging because everybody's kind of on the same page.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Ryan. I think my history teacher is using Pear Deck to sort of have interactive lectures, and I really love it because it's more of an independent part of my workday, and also it is more engaging, as you said, because you get to answer questions as you go, and you can also go at your own pace. Because my teacher, she inserts little clips of her explaining what this slideshow is about and little clips of her lecture. And you can sort of rewind or go faster or skip ahead. And it really is up to you for your own pace. So I appreciate Pear Deck for that. And I think another thing that I can mention that my English teacher has been doing, Miss Selinger, I think her style of teaching carried over to Zoom really nicely, because she's always kind of calling on students to answer questions and just simple things like that. And I think it's nice because you can have your camera off in her class, but she'll still know you're there because she's always asking questions and calling names. And in the beginning of the year, that was nerve-wracking, kind of being nervous whether she's going to call your name or not. But now it keeps me awake in class, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, like Stephanie, I am Mrs. Salinger as well, and she like really talks with the students much more than like other teachers that I have. And like I like that because like I feel like I'm actually building like a relationship with her, and like it's something that I like. Like I'm just able to ask her questions, and I just don't feel like I have like I need to hesitate or like anything when I need like help from her. And I think her teaching style was like really good, and she just knew how to keep everyone like interacting with each other, but like at the same time she makes it fun and just like yeah, it's just nice when you're in her class.
Also, just to add on to that, I feel like it also just depends on the teacher a lot. And I'm like so happy to say that all of my teachers this year are like really good interactive teachers. They like to involve us a lot. It's a lot of open discussions, which I really like because then like everyone has the opportunity to speak out. So
Something that's not from this year, but like the end of last year was for physiology that I had with Miss Starr. She went out of her way to like find interactive websites and like recorded labs and extra content that we could do independently outside of class to like explore more if we wanted to. And that really, I think, helped like keeping me interested in the class when it wasn't just like looking at slides on the computer. It was actually like something extra that would keep me motivated to actually like put in more effort for everything.
What about you, Adam? Have you had any positives with distance learning and any teachers that have made it better and more interactive for you?
Well, I know for like Mr. Ballard, he's saying us do activities at home, like juggling and out frisbee. And I know for Miss Andrews, she does call on students, maybe for attendance questions and to answer other questions.
Very nice. I'm glad that that's happening. And then, do you believe that distance learning has impacted your mental health and physical health at all?
Well, I know for my mental health, lately I've been getting headaches from having so many Zoom meetings. And for physical health, I'm not really sure on that, except maybe sometimes I go to bed later than other nights.
Well, for me personally, my mental health has gotten a lot better because I feel like distance learning is a more relaxed environment. Like I can go to sleep later, I can wake up later. You don't have to go to the commute. Like for my commute is half an hour with traffic, so I don't have to go through that. And plus, the workload has decreased a lot in my case. I don't know about any other people, but for me, it has decreased a lot. So my mental health, I say, has gotten a lot better.
I think both just depend on the person, you know? Like for me, I agree with JR. I'm a lot, I'm more chill now because there's less how do I put this? There's less stress, with the whole distance learning thing. And but I mean, I know people that are more stressed now because they're not with their friends. And as for physical health, I mean, some people like me have actually taken up more exercising and stuff in quarantine. Other people are gaming all day. It's it's just whatever the person wants to do.
Yeah, I can totally see what everyone's saying, and I think I can relate in how I actually think that obviously quarantine and this whole self-isolation as a result of COVID-19 outbreak, I think that I can say has a much bigger impact on my mental health. But school starting is a small part of that, and I think it actually sort of boosted my mental health, and I've been feeling better relative to how my summer went. And I think that was super hard because I've from that I've grown a little more antisocial than I wish I were, and I was spending so little time away from my friends. But now there's a little more interaction with outside people other than people in my house. So I think it's added a little more routine to my life, and that's been really helpful in keeping me in check and helping remind me to take care of myself and things like that in regard to physical health. Like I've had my appetite on a much better schedule, and like during the summer, I kind of didn't structure I don't know, a schedule for my appetite, and I realized how that was becoming unhealthy. And now with lunch being an hour, I'm a lot more comfortable with I really appreciate lunch being an hour, in short. But yeah, I think that school has been a positive for my mental health, and I guess obviously for physical health, I can say that it is hard, like going back on what Adam said. It is really hard trying to stare at a screen for the better part of your day, and I noticed how I've been getting headaches from that. And it's also discouraging sort of being sitting for the whole school day and not even just walking between classes in between passing periods. That's been a little saddening for me, but I think it's gonna get better as I try to tell myself that I have to be the one to get myself out there and take up new things, like Ryan said, take up new physical activities that I can get into.
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of that as well. It's the inability to uh, move exactly like I mean at school when we moved in the halls through classes, that at least got you moving for a bit. And while you can still like get up and move around your house, there uh, because of the recent smoke days and the heat waves, um, and especially with conditions like that prohibiting some of us from going outside, I sometimes it's harder to get exercise than other times, which has been a little down on physical health for me at least. Although mental health, I actually I was can't remember who said it earlier, but I for me it's actually been a lot better than it has ever been at this time of the year because well, I think one of the main reasons is besides getting to pace out work and spread things out, not have to crunch things all in one night. Um, the other part is that I personally am proudly an introvert. I'm not a very, I don't exactly really like loud, bustling social situations, and sometimes the halls around school can be really, really loud and really overwhelming. And being able to learn remotely and do things remotely, and have a little more time to myself where I'm not necessarily like having to worry about socializing every moment, is definitely it's definitely a bit nicer for me personally. So I'd say it's gone for the better for me.
I think like mental health wise, I've been like fine, and physical health, I feel like what Ryan was saying, I really think it depends on the person's mindset. Like they have to put themselves out there, and they're the ones that should like motivate themselves. Like they can't really they can't expect like maybe PE teachers or whatever to be like I think that really depends on the person's mindset to be able to like work out or like just do something that they think will be beneficial for their mental health. So I think it's like a two-way thing. But I feel like there's some things about distance learning that can be better, but then there's also like the bad side of it too.
For me personally, I feel like my focus has gotten worse just because I have other activities after school that are also through like Zoom or online. And so it can end up being from like 9 till like 6 in the evening to like being online. And there isn't any separation between like a classroom and home. So sometimes like this, if there's any stressors, like you're not removing yourself from it completely. So that's been difficult for me.
I feel like I've learned like a new sort of independence with distance learning because you're not required to go to your classes, but everyone still does. Plus, you have a lot more free time to do like work or extracurricular. And, no one's really pushing you to do anything. So you really learn this great sort of independence.
Those are great points. And then a question from the live is, do you think cameras should be required to be turned on?
This is important. I think it should be the teacher's choice. Like I know that like most people prefer to have their cameras off. I mean, when a teacher says that you can turn it off, the whole screen goes black in like 10 seconds. And everybody's just more comfortable that way. But if everybody has their camera off all day, then it runs the risk of lack of participation or people leaving and stuff like that. That's always a worry that the teachers have. So I think it should be up to the teacher. Some teachers care, some teachers don't. But so I don't think there should be like a set rule for that.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan to an extent. I totally see that. Because I have some teachers that are more stringent on having your camera on for the whole class, and then some teachers who are like, oh well, you can head out or sort of cover your face cam now. And I think my concern would be with sort of in the privacy aspect. I think I'm sure some of us have seen on social media there are ways that say I could be pinned on someone else's screen and I wouldn't really know it myself. And that gives me a little unease to that, knowing that they could sort of be taking photos or videos of me without me knowing. And I guess there's some degree that I'm uncomfortable with that, but I see how teachers really want to be able to see our faces, to see how we're receiving the lessons and see if we're engaged. But with, I think, some teaching styles, I think it is okay to for it to be optional or to have your camera off, because there are ways that teachers can still sort of be calling names and asking questions that like I asked, and you can unmute yourself and answer and not really have to be showing your face. And so I think, yeah, I see it's like kind of hard there, because also with my language teacher, where I'm in my Spanish class, she says it's imperative to be able to see our mouths and stuff with how we're pronouncing things. And so it's kind of weird. All I can say is that in my opinion, I think it should be optional.
I actually also agree with that. Stephanie and Ryan make really good points, and I think I think it needs to be thought about more than just how it appears, because in a lot of situations like this, issues that come up, such as even something as simple as whether or not to turn on a camera or not. It's I've always, when I've considered this, I've always looked deeper into the issue and seen like, well, what if there are other factors, like what if they don't have a webcam? Not every computer comes with a web camera. Or what if there's a privacy concern, or maybe there's just some factors of shyness which are totally justified. I mean, normally I like last year in the spring when we began with all of this, I was reluctant to turn on my camera for several meetings. I there's ways to see it from both sides. I can see why the teachers I can see why they are concerned, because they may not know if the person is like doing Mario Brothers on the adjacent screen, or if they're like even still present, or if they're like pretending they're there and not being there. So that is a legitimate thing to be concerned about, but at the same time, I feel like there are also ways to work around it if someone doesn't want to necessarily have their camera on. I feel like if there's an agreement that can be worked out between the teacher and that student, where maybe there's either the honor system used, or maybe there's just some other way of the student making them aware that they're still participating, so that way not everybody is compelled to have their cameras on if it either puts them out of their comfort zone, or if it just or even for all we know, they couldn't even have one. Like it's kind of an assumption to assume that everybody has a webcam. So I think that's how I see it.
I don't think teachers should pressure students ever to have their cameras on as well. I think because you never know why they might want it off, if they've got any home situations where they feel uncomfortable having it on. So I think that they just need to be careful about how they go about asking people to turn their cameras on, and always making it general and never like targeting people.
Yeah, like everyone else was saying, like I think it depends on the teacher and the student, but like I think teachers shouldn't like pressurize students to like all turn their cameras on, because like how Decker was saying, there might be different reasons why they might not. But if they really want to know if like the student's paying attention, like I feel like they should like do something interactive with the students, so like they know they're paying attention. Like for example, Mrs. Salinger, she asks the kids who don't have their cameras on a lot of questions, like just to make sure they're paying attention. And I think that's like a good way to like not force your students to have cameras on, but like still have them pay attention during class.
Just to add on to Chloe and Stephanie, they brought up really good points of being uncomfortable with not knowing if somebody pinned you to their screen, or like, just not aware of what's happening with your picture. And also like the awareness of like their surroundings and stuff. Not everyone has like the ideal home that they want to show or something. So I feel like that plays a really big role as well in whether or not turning your camera on. And what Anusha was saying, like a couple of my teachers, like if you don't have your camera on, they'll just particularly call on those people more to see, like make sure they're engaged. And I feel like that's a good way, just to get everyone to participate if like they don't have their camera on.
I agree, because I agree with like what everyone has been saying, because everyone has been making really great points. I just want to say that I don't think the teacher should force the students, because like everyone else has been saying, personal reasons, like if it's too loud, they're not happy with the house, they don't have a webcam, etc. There are like a lot of factors that can go into why a student might not want to show their camera, as well as privacy reasons. So I feel like that the students should let the teacher know if they can't have one. So at least the teacher knows, so they don't assume that the student is playing video games or like talking with someone else. That's just my take on it.
Okay, amazing input. And then this one's kind of a funny question, but what is the craziest thing you've seen on Zoom? Have Zoom backgrounds been distracting to you at all, or?
I'd say for me that the craziest thing I've seen on Zoom thus far is or not so much seen as heard, is that the audio can sometimes stop being constant, and sometimes for some reason, just because computers are not perfect, even though they think they are, they for some reason sometimes, from what I've noticed in a few of my calls, there's a particular part of audio that someone says that's either delayed several seconds, or that is for some reason cut and then keeps jumping in as the call goes on. And then in other now I've noticed this more with Google Meet, but with Zoom as well. Sometimes if the internet is really bad on either end of the call, the video and the audio can get separated, and I think the craziest thing I saw once was when the video and the audio were like 20 seconds apart, and it was really hard to make a relation between the two of them, because it's like at one point the teacher was waiting really long for one of us to answer, but the words were taking really long to catch up. So that's probably the craziest thing I've seen.
I haven't really seen anything crazy, but to address the second question, which was if the backgrounds are distracting, I don't think so. Like, nobody really puts anything that's distracting. Like, if they do have a background, which in itself is rare, it's normally just like something aesthetic, like the Golden Gate Bridge or something. And like the only other way it would be distracting is if someone's screwing with all the filters, like doing this all day long or something annoying. But like, it's nobody's really doing that either. So I mean, it seems fine.
The only thing I can think of is that in a couple of my classes, we've had people that were like lying in bed during class or not following the dress code. I saw one instance of someone being shirtless in class, which was bizarre, but that was mostly in the first week of school.
Yeah, just to add on top of that, I've never seen anything like outlandishly crazy. Just like one time, like there's this kid and he had like took a picture of himself in class, so like he so like almost like it was frozen. But then when he came back to class, he forgot to take it off. So there's like two of him in his little in his little box, but nothing really too outlandish or crazy. And when the people do have the backgrounds, like the Golden Gate Bridge or something, it's never really like distracted me or like stopped me from doing what I need to do. So.
Like the only thing that has caught my attention is that when the people merge with their Zoom backgrounds, if like they don't have like a good back screen or good lighting, they like just merge with like the Golden Gate Bridge, or they merge with space. You know what I mean? Like other than that, I just find it really hilarious, and the teachers always get on the students' case about it. But other than that, everything's pretty good.
Yeah, but people don't normally just like stay on the call looking like a ghost the whole time, so it's normally not that much of a problem.
Yeah, no, some students have moving Zoom backgrounds, so I always find those a bit cool, but they're never that distracting. Okay, and then based on our conversation, do you believe that distance learning is as effective as it can be? What is one thing that would make it better?
I mean, this is the first time that any of this has been done, so I mean, of course, there's going to be hiccups. I mean, it seems to be going like, I don't know, I'd say it's going okay as far as it can, but one thing I would say is that I find 80 minutes too long. Like, a lot of my teachers run their classes for like 70 to 80 minutes, and that's just too long in front of the screen. And then when I have that from 9 to 2, like, my eyes and back are dead by the end of the day. But I mean, so I mean that could be changed maybe a little bit. But like, aside from that, I think it's just something new, and the other minor stuff will be fixed.
Definitely. I think about it in relation to last semester, and I guess how I was feeling during the summer. I think it's really nice seeing a lot more interaction and engagement, and a lot more structure than spring semester. And I think I like looking at it in a positive way like that. Definitely, we've talked about some stuff that teachers can touch up on, like I guess checking on students more during class and calling names, and like we mentioned, the debate of having cameras on or off. And I think breakout rooms can be executed better, but I think after all of us talking about it, there's a lot of stuff that I learned, and I hope that teachers watching the stream learned. And I think there's areas to grow, but we'll definitely get there. Like, it's not It's not a big thing. Like, I'm never going back to online school again. I hate it. I hate it. It's okay. And I'm glad to see that we're doing the student forum, especially because I don't know, it's really eye-opening for me personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Stephanie. I think like not only is this like a new experience for us, but like it's also new for teachers. So like it's not like they know how to make it go really well. It's like they're also adjusting. So like we need to understand their perspective as well. But I feel like they're I think everything's going pretty well, and I think everyone's just trying their best at it.
Something that I think may be specific to the classes that I have, but having a scheduled break time in between like the first two classes in the day would really help, especially for those of us that have teachers that actually use up the full time, because it turns into like 1.5 hour like over 2 hours straight of classes. And if I need to like prepare stuff for class, I end up like having to scramble really quickly so I can get onto the call. So like missing the brunch time in between has made it a bit difficult.
I agree with Chloe because like for some of my classes, my teachers use up the entire 80 minutes or however long it is. And like what everyone's been saying is tiresome on like my eyes, like my back. And sometimes I don't get like the full brunch time, like what Chloe said. So distinguishing like a 5 or like 10-minute break within a class can help out a lot. And I feel like if some teachers could, I'm not saying that they aren't right now, I'm saying like if they could like try to bond with the students just a bit more, because like for my PE, for our homework assignments, he like asks us like 10 different questions on Google Forms. Like questions about us, like what's our favorite food, trying to get to know us better, trying to bond. And that just makes me more excited to come to his class. So I feel like if more teachers implement that, more people will be interested in learning.
I agree with that. I think overall, distance learning has been as effective as it can. I'm not saying it is perfect, but because I don't know if perfection is really something that can actually be reached. It's kind of like the idea of infinity, where it's not like physically reachable, but it's something you can strive for. But what I also think is that both my teachers and the administration, who I actually want to say that I think besides the teachers, the administration have actually been doing a really great job keeping the school afloat, and they don't get enough credit, but uh, they deserve more credit than they get. They keep us afloat, and they're all of the faculty of the school that I've seen and worked with have been working really, really hard to keep us afloat. And from what I can see, most students are as well. So I think everybody's trying their hardest. And this is a time where I'm not going to put words in anybody else's mouth, but I'm going to speak for myself here. I don't have a plan for everything. I kind of have to go with what comes up, because for all we knew 6 months ago, this was only supposed to be a 2-week quarantine. And then 2 weeks turned into 6 months as far as last Sunday went. So it's been 6 months of this new routine. And I have personally been figuring things out along the way. And I feel like perfection will not be easily achievable in the near future. But I feel like with everything that's been brought up and addressed, things are going as best as they can, and I believe that I believe that hopefully with uh, uh, continued not determination, because that can be hard to hold on to sometimes, but continued sense of trying hard and just um, not going with the flow, because I don't really like that phrase, but seeing how things end up unfolding, and then going with how best we can accommodate and adapt for the for the given time until things begin to calm down and the pandemic begins to subside.
I forgot who said it earlier, but I believe that classes should have breaks in the middle of them. Because honestly, if you're sitting down on a lesson plan that's what 80 minutes long, you're going to eventually lose interest and start being distracted by all sorts of things. So a break in the middle of classes would really help, revitalize your attention span.
Yeah, just to add on to Hunter and Chloe, what they were saying, that break in between those two first period classes, the first and second period, would really be helpful because I know like a couple of my teachers do use that entire time to take notes or whatever it is. And with that time, like your eyes are strained by that time and like, you get the headaches that Stephanie was talking about. But other than that, I feel like there's always room for improvement, but I feel like we've been doing pretty good as a school and as a community, and like all of my classmates and teachers and administration has been really helpful in making this go as good as like as smoothly as possible. So I thank everyone for that.
One thing that I think could be improved on Zoom is the school Wi-Fi connections when teachers are having meetings at school, since I sometimes can't get into them right away.
Agreed. Those are all great points. And our last question is, if/1 we are able to go back to in person, would you choose to stay online if given the choice?
No,
I think that question, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'd probably go back in person learning. I mean, it's great with the scheduling and the hour-long lunch break and the Wednesday off. I think those are all really helpful things. But I'd choose physical school over Zoom school any day.
I agree with Hunter. Like, I, I wanna, I'm, I, I've. How long have we been in school already? That's distance learning. How long has it been? Like 5 weeks now? That's 5 weeks that I haven't been in high school when I could have physically been there, And the time's gonna pass. I want to see people physically. I want to meet new friends. I want to do all that stuff, and it's hard to do when you're not actually there. So yeah, I'd give them the chance. I would definitely go back to physical school.
I think this is like something like really depends on the person. Like some people might feel it better like distance learning, they don't have that much like pressure, they can thrive better. But for me, I feel like in an in-person school environment, I can thrive better sometimes and I can just like do better, but then at the same time like with the current situation, like it can be a risk as well.
Yeah, just to add on to what Anisha was saying, it really depends on the person. Personally, if I have the choice, I would probably like go back for a little bit to physical school just to get that interaction and that in-person teaching. But then I honestly probably would go back to online school because I feel like my mentality of learning and I just had more time to focus on each subject, which I like me personally, I need a lot of help with math, and like I've had that time to go back and focus on that, and like just talk to my teachers, and like the communication was has been pretty good with online school, and I just feel like online school kind of for me would be better, just because I have more time to focus on my mentality and stay focused on what I need to be focused on, and just get that extra help on whatever subject it is I need help on.
For me, I would personally go back to school, like physical school, because like the interaction, missing like the exercise from like going from different classes. But I like distance learning because of how relaxed I am. Because I am for like a lot of people, including me, I work better in a relaxed environment, and I feel like I was more stressed at during physical school. So if physical school was less stressful, I would definitely go back to physical school.
For me, I would actually say that I would stick with remote learning, at least for the foreseeable future. Here is where I come to this logic. 6 and 7 months ago, I'm pretty sure none of us saw that this was going to happen. I might be speaking for everybody, but just from what I can best assume, I'm pretty sure none of us saw that it would be this long. But here we are, and we've adapted for the most part to the best of what we can do. But the thing is that I don't see us returning to physical school in the near future. It's too much of a risk. And B, eventually when we do, I mean, if anyone has watched the news recently, several areas of the country and the world are trying to return back to life before the pandemic ASAP. And, I know that this is not ideal for most people. Nobody asked to have this pandemic and at-home situation here, but yet the whole world is currently working to get through it. And I feel like if we rush the return to school, just like some businesses have rushed the return to work, or some industries have just rushed the return to like doing things the old way, like it's a bummer about what we're in right now. But I feel like preferences aside, I would stick with remote learning because it would be more healthy, safer for the time being, and just it would not be rushing back immediately and then risking like another wave, because that's what has happened is people rushed back to several things this summer, and now we're in like wave 2, I want to say, of this. So both safety and I'll admit slight preferences. I would stay um, I would stay remote because I feel like we're going to be remote for for a little longer anyway. But that's just my personal preference. We gradually get back into it as we go, but I won't. I would not rush.
Yeah, I really relate to what Decker has been saying in that for me, the biggest factor in whether I want to go back to school or keep it remote learning is sort of my health concerns. For me personally, I'm living in a house with majority people who are at risk for, I think, being affected very badly by COVID. And I'm also living with someone with, what's it called? Her immune system is compromised. And I think that for me, it would depend definitely on how sooner or later that this option comes, whether we want to go back to school in person. And yeah, I think definitely I would be staying home if it came. If you asked me right now, I would be staying home.
If there were a hybrid option when it's like safe to go back, I think I'd want to do that because I feel like I've been missing out a lot with my arts classes, like especially band, like not being able to really be in a group or actually have a true rehearsal is just, I don't know, it feels like I don't really have that class a lot of the time.
I agree. Like for right now, it's because of COVID and everything, and how the situation will be really bad if we do go back to physical school. Like once everything's situated, I feel like a hybrid method would be really good at the moment to like slowly introduce us back to physical school. And maybe like 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years later, once vaccines are out, once everything has been situated in regards to the virus, then we can go back to like physical school, like 100% physical, if people want it. But for like at the time being, I feel like hybrid is probably the best option at this point.
Okay, that's extremely helpful. And thank you for mentioning that when we do go back to school, our lives aren't going to be the normal that we're used to. So yay. That concludes our first student forum. To our student panel, we are so grateful for your input and thank you for making this such a great experience. Thank you so much for our viewers for tuning in. To students out there who are interested in participating, please apply to our future ones where we will talk about things such as inclusion and discrimination at Northgate, boosting school spirit, and other topics. We plan to have these once a month, and these forums allow us to improve our school by amplifying student voices. Again, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. This has been super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.